Hey, I'm Isabel Bercaw, and when I was 12 years old, I founded a multi-million-dollar bath and body products company called the Bomb Bath. After 5 years of building my own brand, I've discovered a passion for helping young and innovative entrepreneurs tell their stories. Hopefully, you'll be inspired by the guests here on Build-A-Biz and maybe even motivated to start a business of your own. Let's get into it.
This is Build-A-Biz with Isabel Bercaw.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Build-A-Biz. My name is Isabel Bercaw, your host, and today I have a very special guest with us. Her name is Kyla Carter, and she is the 15-year-old entertainer and musical artist who is taking the world by storm. Kyla, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, seriously, I was listening to some of your songs earlier, and they're super great, so I can't wait to talk to you a little bit more about those.
Yes, thank you so much. It means a lot to me, even if it's one person that listens, it's always like my job to at least spread my message to one person. So it really does mean a lot to me that you did listen.
Oh, well, I'm sure there's more than one person listening. I'm glad to make you happy that way. So I guess just for the people who haven't really heard about your adventures in the entertainment industry yet, why don't we just start from the very beginning, when you were 5 years old and starting your career?
So when I got into the acting business and musical theater world when I was about 5 years old, and it really started off just something fun to do on the weekends. My parents signed me up for everything: soccer, ice skating, which I was actually pretty good at, and a bunch of other things. And they kind of took me out of all of that when I was like dancing in the soccer goal, or I was dancing and not paying attention to anything I was doing. So they signed me up for musical theater classes, and I started taking classes, and I learned Seasons of Love when I was like 5, which is highly inappropriate, but it was a great song. And my parents were like, wow, she could actually sing. So I got a singing coach. And through that singing coach, they were like, go into New York City and become a star. So I went to an acting workshop, and I got my agent who sends me on auditions for jobs. And that's how I got where I am now, I guess.
That's awesome. I love how you gave us a little brief explanation, too, of how the industry works, because for people who aren't in the entertainment industry or, specifically the acting industry, it might be a little bit difficult to kind of imagine how these productions come together. And I know you've done a number of productions. You've done plays, you've done voice acting, and I also think it's cool that you did a bunch of other activities before you found your passion as well. I actually was a figure skater myself, so I love that you did that. So I guess just kind of going back to finding your passion, like how did you know that, I guess, just going right into it, how did you kind of decide that like this is what you wanted to stick with? Like, because moving to New York is a pretty big step. So kind of where in your story did you do that?
Yeah.
And what motivates you to stay in the industry?
So I live right outside of New York City, which is super accessible, super close, which is super great. And my mother, when I was younger, would record Kyla's Always Humming. Even before I was talking, I was always like bopping around, and there was always music around me. Both my parents are teachers, so I wasn't necessarily exposed like super to music, but I listened to songs all the time. And one day I was watching TV and a commercial came up, and I was probably about 3 or 4 at the time, and it was for Shirley Temple. And if you don't know who that is, it's like the drink. She's the actor behind the famous drink. And she's this sweet little cute actor who tap danced and she sang and she did everything. And I kind of looked at the TV and I was like, Mom, I need every single one of those DVDs, when DVDs were actually popular. But I need every single one of those DVDs. And I have this set actually in my house. It's really funny. I look back at it and they're all in black and white, which I also think is so fun, especially for such a young child to be watching black and white movies when I'm growing up in the age of technology. But I kind of decided when I looked at the TV and I saw what she was doing, I wanted to do exactly what she was doing. And that's how my motivation kind of started. And it really didn't stop. I've always wanted, my main goal has always been Broadway and to do things Broadway, which I have accomplished, which I think is so much fun. And I think that's what keeps me going is Broadway and singing in general, because if I had to pick one, I guess I'd say singing is my favorite.
And it's cool because Broadway, you know, kind of like you alluded to, it's singing and dancing combined. And
it's everything, which I love.
yeah, I love it too. I'm not as good as you at it though. So yeah, you're obviously really good at what you do. I just kind of want to go back to like the Broadway thing a little bit. So you would say that your original like observation, I guess, of the Shirley Temple movies inspired your love for Broadway. So then how did you take that step to go and like audition for Broadway? I know you mentioned that you like had an agent. Just talk to us a little bit about the audition process and how that works.
Yeah. So when I first got my agent, I was sent out on a bunch of commercials that like you see on TV. And I actually booked my first job, which was so interesting. And I remember being really nervous. And it was for What Would You Do? And I was on set. And I remember it vaguely because I was like 5 at the time. So it's kind of gone from my brain. But I specifically remember Broadway auditions when I booked the Sound of Music Broadway National Tour. And basically, you go into the audition room and they'll hand you sides, or it's basically like reading a script or just a bunch of lines. And you'll have to act and you'll have to perform the lines. And then they'll give you a song you have to sing and you have to sing it for them. And there was 7 rounds of auditions for that Broadway show. So people were getting cut, meaning that they wouldn't be a part of the cast. And basically every single round of auditions was read more sides, sing some more songs, read more lines, sing some more songs. And they were pairing you with people. So there would be some random kid who was supposed to be my brother, which I thought was so interesting that I was paired up with somebody so random. And it's so funny how that whole cast and we're now really like siblings. But the audition process is pretty rigorous and very intense, which can get really stressful. But I've learned to manage it really well, and I actually find the fun behind it now, which is really nice.
That's good. I know that, being a figure skater, I can kind of remember looking back, and I'm sure you can as well, like how the nerves would almost motivate you a little bit. So just so that the audience just so that the listeners can kind of relate a little bit, I'm just imagining like a sport or something like that. And then for you, this is like your hobby, this is what you do in your free time. And then now it's become something bigger, but it started like, just another sport for you. And so I guess like just kind of comparing that, I guess that the nervous energy could have maybe motivated you a little bit. How did you learn to manage that? Like what were some, strategies that you used to manage your stress? And then were there ever any times where you were like, close to giving up and then you were like, never mind, I got this round 7 of this audition, which is like
what a lot of people don't know about me is I had massive stage fright, which is not helpful when you're a performer. I would get really nervous, and it was just the pressure of everything. It wasn't performing in general, which a lot of people think, oh, you were scared of performing. No, I wasn't scared of performing. I loved performing. I was scared of the reaction I was going to get if I messed up, which a lot of people can relate to in like sports. As you said, if you think of a soccer game, if you don't make that final goal at the end and you lose the whole game for everybody, you're going to feel down on yourself. So I was like, oh, I need to nail every single audition. I need to make sure I'm doing a great job. And that pressure really started to get to me, until I realized that I'm doing this for fun and I need to take this stress off of myself, because in the end, I can stop if I want to. And putting that extra stress on myself was really harming to me. So I was like, okay, we need to think about this. And my parents are amazing. They help me calm down really well if I'm ever stressed out. They're like, Kyla, you got this. You're so awesome. Like, you prepared for this forever. And that their support really helps de-stress me a lot too. And there's been times where I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this anymore. And then I'll look back at the Shirley Temple movies, or I'll look back at something that I've been in, and I'm like, I can't give this up. There's no way. I would not be happy without it. So of course there are moments of doubt, but you got to push through it.
Yeah, I love it. And kind of like a parallel that I can draw between my own business experience and then your experience with your career would probably be just like learning that the highs outweigh the lows of, the pressures and the failures and stuff like that. Because I'm sure you've messed up before, like we're all only human. And I'm sure the audience all understands that too, or, you know, whoever's like hosting the audition. I'm sure people understand that. And that's an important lesson to learn in life too, is that like, it's okay to mess up now and then. It's okay to mess up every day if that's your thing.
Exactly.
Get back up and keep going. Which actually leads me to another question that I have for you, which is your podcast. You talk a lot about positivity on there and happiness, and you have this cute little sunshine logo, which I love. And a beautiful intro song, might I say. I'm just kind of wondering if you think that that's maybe where some of your, you know, positive thoughts come from, or, you know, vice versa. If like you put your positive thoughts into your podcast, it's just kind of this like large amalgam of positivity.
For me, ever since I was really, really little, I have always just been super carefree, which I think is a trait that I really love about myself, is that life can go in 1,000 different directions, and I won't have a mental breakdown, which is pretty great. I've always been a pretty positive person, looking at the upside of things while everybody else is looking at the absolute negative. So when Mark White, who's my segment, Kylas Corner, my podcast, it's on his podcast in general, when he asked me if I wanted to have a segment on a show, I was ecstatic because I love talking to people. I'm really chit chatty. I love getting to know people. And I was given a platform where I was able to talk about things that are really important to me, which I love. And through that, I was able to express to others that finding the positivity in something is so much more beneficial for you, and self-love and body positivity and all this stuff that I feel like teenagers, especially teenagers and even younger kids and adults, need, because it can be hard when you start to doubt yourself. And of course, I've had my moments of doubt, but pushing through it, like we said, and finding the positive even in the negative, I think is really important. And I'm so happy I get to share that message with everybody on Kylas Corner, because it does mean a lot to me.
Yeah, I love it. And I totally agree with that. And just something I picked out of that story that you told us about your podcast is, you said that I was really carefree when I was younger, which helped me not take situations so seriously. And then you kind of mentioned that, you know, teenagers tend to kind of lose that confidence, which is something that I think it's an important, you know, point to pick out, because I feel like young people are so capable of so many things, partly because of that carefree nature that they have. And if we could just, you know, continue to teach young girls and young people that they can, it's okay to keep that confidence. And it's okay to just be a little bit carefree sometimes. And, you know, it's okay to make mistakes like we were talking about earlier. You know, I think that people could do some really great things their entire lives. You know, not to say that people who are, you know, older can't do anything, because that's kind of like the standard for having but I do think that sometimes young people are maybe discredited for doing some pretty cool stuff when it could be owed to like their carefree nature, and also like their creative genius, which you've demonstrated.
So Kyla, we're actually going to take a really quick music break, and to the listeners, definitely check out Instagram while you're listening to the music. Kyla's Instagram is Kyla D. Carter. And then also join us here for part 2 of Kyla's story after the music break. All right, everybody, welcome back for the music break. If you're just joining us now, you're listening to Build-A-Biz, and my name is Isabel Bercaw, and I am here with Kyla Carter, the singer, songwriter, and actress who is telling us about how she got into the industry. And we were actually just talking about Kyla's podcast before we took a quick break. And Kyla, I know that you have a super cute catchphrase that you call it. So do you think you could tell us a little bit more about that and what the catchphrase means to you?
So living life sunny side up is my catchphrase that I use. And I think it's so great that I have that catchphrase and that I came up with it, because if you think of things, it's going back into really actually what I wrote a song about, which is even funnier how it all connects to each other. But if you think about it, living life sunny side up is when you look at the positive. And I actually did a whole entire segment on sunny side down days, which is even when you're feeling bummed out, it's okay to have those bummed out days because it's going to happen. I mean, the sun's not shining all the time. Of course, there's going to be a little bit of rain. So I always thought that it was so important to have that motto just in my life. And you are my sunshine is a huge, huge symbol for my family. Anything stars and sun. That we have so many stars all over my room, all over my house. So when I was picking that catchphrase, I really wanted something to do with sunny nature, something that had to do with the sun in general, because I think it's so important. And I'm so happy that I got to incorporate that and live my life sunny side up and be super happy. And I hope to encourage others to do the same.
Yeah, and I mentioned this very briefly at the beginning of the podcast, but Kyla sings a super cute song, and I didn't know you could yodel. I think that's what you were doing, but it was very impressive. So if you guys want to hear some beautiful singing, you should definitely go listen to the podcast, in addition to some awesome positive phrases.
Yes, the high vibrato that I do on those notes, which is so beautiful. I have amazing coaches that have helped me throughout the years develop really strong voice. And it's not yodeling. I've actually have yodeled on Sound of Music. We had a whole entire segment of the show, which is the song, which is Lonely Goat Herd, where we're all yodeling. So we had to take yodeling lessons. So I do know how to yodel, which I think is hilarious. But it's high vibrato, which I think is so fun. If you don't know what that is, it's basically when your voice goes above like a high D on the piano, which is so cool.
That's fun. I actually, I play guitar. I know that you recently picked up guitar, but my guitar teacher always had to write like, I think he wrote like chords out for me or something. I can't read music, and still to this day, I can't read music, which is something that people always like, wait, you play guitar, but you can't read music? And I'm just like, yeah, I'm a hopeless soul there, but I've managed okay so far. So just kind of going off this idea of positivity, and like you said, how everything is kind of connected through that. I also would like to talk about your two songs, and especially the most recent song, Half Full, Half Empty.
Yeah. So Half Full, Half Empty is actually what I was referencing earlier when I wrote a song about living positively. That song I wrote actually in a really short amount of time. When I wrote my other song, my first single, Average Puzzle Piece, I originally wrote it and I hated it. So then I trashed it and started over again. But Half Full, Half Empty, I wrote in less than 30 minutes because I was really inspired and super motivated. And basically what it's about is seeing things half full or half empty. It's the same concept of living sunny side up or living sunny side down, which I think is also so fun how I was able to alliterate that in a different way, but still use the same message, because I think it's important, even though I do have a podcast and share my positivity on there, through music, which a lot of people listen to. I listen to music everywhere I go. I think it's really important to spread those same messages. So Half Full, Half Empty is really about you have the choice to see things positively or negatively, and you have to make that choice for yourself, which is amazing. But I've written that one, and then I've also written Average Puzzle Piece, which is about being you in a world of all different people.
Totally. And I get that, like all puzzle pieces are different, but also like you don't have to be an average puzzle piece. Like it's kind of an oxymoron, like a play on.
Exactly. It is. I have always looked at the world kind of as one big puzzle. And especially society now, I think as trends come and go, I think you're expected to look and to act a certain way, which isn't necessarily true. But I've always felt like there's this person or this thing you have to be. And I am the total opposite of that. I mean, I spent most of my childhood traveling the country while most kids are in school. And I think that alone separates me a lot from other kids and leaving me out in a lot of different circumstances. I've missed their birthday parties, my birthday parties. So I've just grown up a different way. And a lot of people can see that as weird. So that was one of the main inspirations I used for that song, because my style's kind of different. So I always wanted to let people know that it's okay to be yourself and it's okay to be different and stand out a little bit, because that's what makes you you, and you can't change yourself. There's only you in this world. So you don't have to fit in that puzzle. You can be a not so average puzzle piece.
Totally. And I love that too. And, something that I've learned from my own experience, I also had a bit of a untraditional schooling experience, you could say. So I did half days at school so I could go work for my business during the afternoon. And that was super fun. And honestly, if anybody did make fun of me, or if I was like wearing my DeBomb shirt to school, I remember once I had to show up in full hair and makeup and like a news anchor outfit because I had to go be on the news next. Like after school, I just to kind of talk about my business, which is by no means traveling across the country to be on Broadway. But you know what I mean? The point.
Yeah.
What I've learned is if everybody thought it was cool, except for the people who didn't think it was cool, they were just kind of jealous. So if people are kind of that, that doesn't have to be for an actor / actress or even jealousy for someone who has a bath bomb business. It could be something like, wow, like I wish I had that person's style, or I wish I had some kind of talent that person has. And if someone is being kind of mean to you, it might just be because they subliminally wish that they were in your shoes and that that they had the confidence that you had. So
exactly. I actually have a line in my song about that. It goes, everybody is so unique, ignore the jealousy, do what makes you happy. Because what I've realized is exactly that. The people that don't necessarily like me are just jealous of what I do have, which I think it's so important. And that's why I'm so grateful for everything I do have, because I look at other people and I'm like, wow, nobody will really ever have the same experience. And I bet you can relate to that too, because I mean, like, you have this amazing business. So it's so interesting how something you can get from somebody, so a negative emotion that's pushed onto you can really be something else that's making them sad, or that's having anxiety about themselves, or really self-confidence, lacking self-confidence, which I also think is so interesting, especially in teenagers. And that's why I still do the positive. I still do podcasts to show that, hey, just let everybody be themselves and be yourself, because you can't judge others. It's not fair, because you can only really judge yourself.
Absolutely. And then kind of going back to this idea of like, there's kids all the time absorbing music. I feel like a lot of what people absorb these days is almost like heartbreak and sadness, which, if you're feeling those emotions, that's okay to feel. Yeah. But it's always nice to have some songs out there, especially like the songs that you write and that you put out or that you've put out so far. Yeah. It's about being positive, because I'm a firm believer what you put out, you get back. And I think if you're putting out jealousy, you're probably going to get back some negative emotions. And if you're putting out positivity into the world, you're probably going to get back positivity. And then when you get back positivity, that inspires you to pay it forward, I think is what it's called. So I love it that you're doing that.
I believe this same exact thing. That's actually something my mom taught me from when I was really little, is she says, you treat others how you want to be treated. You treat others with kindness. So you're positive, because that's what you get back into the universe. We're firm believers of karma in this house, which I think is so funny. But especially with the music part, what you were talking about is there is a lot of negative music. And I always find, like, of course, I've written sad songs. I think it's important to have an outlet, and I use songwriting as an outlet for my emotions, because it's a great outlet, just writing everything down. It's like you're writing a story. And I think it's important to have sad music to show others, like, hey, you're not alone. Like, everybody's sad. But it's also really important to have positive music, because you can't be sad all the time. Or a lot of music isn't really age appropriate anymore, which I also find is a total bummer. So I always want to be appropriate for audiences, and I want to be a role model for younger kids, and I want every age to be able to listen to my music. I think that's important too, is because a lot of the media that they portray now is not really suitable for younger kids. And I think it's so important for younger kids to have those positive influences. If you look back at the Hannah Montana ages or the Lizzie McGuire, like growing up with them, it was like, oh my gosh, they're so cool and they're so fun. So I want to be that for little kids. I think it's really important.
Totally. Well, if we want to kind of get your message out there a little more, I would just like to give you a shout out. Everyone should go follow Kyla on Instagram and as well listen to her podcast. Kyla, do you want to just go down the list?
You can find me at Kyla D. Carter on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. And you can find me at Kyla Carter Music and look at all my music. And you can follow me on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, YouTube, and any other streaming platform where you want to find your music. My songs are Average Puzzle Piece and Half Full, Half Empty at the moment. And you can find my podcast at Kylas Corner Podcast. on Instagram and on my website.
Awesome. Well, I think like the moral of that explanation was if you look up Kyla D. Carter, you will find an amalgam of information on Kyla, and all of it is going to be very entertaining. So you should definitely go check her out. And I'd also appreciate if you follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is Isabel.Bercaw, and I will be posting updates on, who my next guest on Build-A-Biz is going to be. Well, Kyla, unfortunately, this is all the time we have left today, but I so appreciate you coming on Build-A-Biz.
Yes, thank you for having me. This was so much fun, and I'm so happy that I got to share my message on yet another platform.
All right, everyone, until next time. Bye.